Olivia, we're live.
Okay, this is
Wow.
exciting.
Yeah, cool. Let me take care of a couple of housekeeping things real quick for anybody who's tuning in. We're actually on StreamYard, which is a third party that allows us to stream to Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and some other places. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Here's the one drawback, Olivia, of StreamYard. I don't think we get all the chats. So if you're leaving us notes and we don't reply, it's not because we don't love you, it's because we don't see the notes inside of StreamYard. So
Yeah, it does tell me that over here. Some will not go through.
yeah,
But we're always available through DM, super easy to send messages in LinkedIn. So there
yeah,
you are.
yeah. Yeah, very cool. Hey, thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh, yeah, I always love doing stuff with you.
Yeah,
So we always have fun.
yeah. Relaxed, I hope.
Yeah, I never get stressed out about our events.
Well, I'll try to put some more pressure on next time.
Oh, Lord, please don't.
Today, we're talking about email marketing,
Yay!
one of my favorite topics. And here's why, Olivia. I think it's the most important marketing asset you can possibly build and own.
I do too. For one, I don't know if you guys have followed me on LinkedIn for a while, but last year I was kicked out of LinkedIn, which is really one of my main sources of lead generation in my business. And for 10 days, I felt like what is that saying? Up a creek without a paddle kind of deal. I didn't
Yeah,
know what to do. But luckily, over the years, I built up my email list, so I was still able to market my services that way. But I think that a lot of folks, especially in the advisor space, have a very high perceived value of social media, which don't get me wrong, it's great, but we are limited because it's not something that we own or have control over.
yeah. I'll give you another quick anecdotal story. A mutual friend of ours, someone you introduced me to not too long ago, was running an event, and I was talking to this person, and they said, for the event, we are spending, I'm not even going to say how much because it blew my mind when they said, but tens of thousands of dollars in meta advertising. And so after the event, I hit them up and I said, how'd the event go? And they were like, pretty soft. Have you ever run ads? And, and what's your experience? And I said, yes, we've run ads, but we have not run it in a while because when we send an email out, it goes to 18,000 people. So if we're strategic and provide value in that email, we don't have to run ads. We can continue to create inbound opportunity off the email list that we built for the last, gosh, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years. It's taken a while, but 28,000, I think 18,000 active, something like that. So takes a little while, but once it's built, Olivia, it like really honestly, it is for us the absolute best way to grow business.
And one of the benefits too of, selling to your email list or engaging with your email list versus ads, and we do both. Sometimes you need both, sometimes you need one or the other. No, you always need email. Let's get that out of the way. But one of the benefits of having a robust list and trying to sell to them versus ads is that you're already talking to people who have opted in and are warm to your offer, to your persona, to your firm. Like they're in it already, right? Versus showing to a group of people who have been targeted per, geographical location, interests, and things like that, who might not give two craps about your firm. So you're talking to a list that's already warm and primed to listen versus an ad, which, for all intents and purposes, we're just trying to get them to click through and hope they like what they see when they click through.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. For the purpose actually of downloading something so we get their email, right? So the ads are actually designed then to build that email list also. Let's talk about that. We talked about borrowed network versus own network. Great if you've got 5,000 people on LinkedIn that fit a target demographic. But to your point, right, you got slapped on the hand not because of anything that you did that was outrageous. You were on a very popular podcast.
Right. So it was after the appearance on the Kitchens podcast. I believe we recorded in July and maybe it came out in August or something like that. But there was such a high interest in my profile that it got kind of locked down and I had to submit my ID. And the first time they said, no, we're not unlocking it. And then I had to appeal and it was this whole thing. And luckily it was only 10 days. And, whatever, forced social media detox is never a bad thing. But when it comes to building your business, you kind of start to panic in the water. And so he can't even, you just can't control it. Even if you're not doing anything nefarious, just, having more exposure can lead to red flags on the part of the platform.
Yeah. Funny thing is we're all looking for more exposure. So you finally get it. Like, nope.
Shut me down.
Let's talk about good ways to build your email list. Got any ideas?
Yeah. Well, okay. So 3 of the main ways that we are building up our email list. And if you aren't, kind of privy to the connection here, that is lead generation, right? We are collecting the information of somebody who has shown interest in your product or service and is opting in, whether it's opting in simply for a newsletter. Not very enticing, gonna be honest, unless you're sharing teasers or something like enticing, some sort of carrot. That's kind of it's harder to get opt-ins there. A lead magnet, this could be like an exclusive podcast or an explainer video or a guide or checklist or whatever. There's also targeted outreach, which Charlie and I both do. We share clients for this service. In fact, where we're doing targeted messaging to people in an ideal client group, sending a series of scripted DMs and soliciting their email that way, but in a very friendly, hey, buddy, let's stay connected in email. And you would be surprised. I was surprised. I was skeptical at first, but I have become a believer. And, our clients are generating anywhere between 80 and 120 emails a month simply from running this automated service, which means they really have little to no lift involved throughout the month. It's all set up and ready to go for them. Which is a benefit. Of course, there's advertising, like we mentioned. That is a higher barrier of entry. Typically, investment-wise, you have to build out the system, funnel system that you're going to run the advertising to. There are different ways to run ads, and it varies by platform. But at the very least, you want to have the back-end automation set up in the email. So it's just a little bit more complex. If you have a higher budget, so definitely something that will return on investment more rapidly. But if you aren't someone who has an expendable, 1,000 to 3,000 to 5,000 a month for ad spend, then these other options are really great. And Charlie, I'm sure you have other ideas too.
I do. I'm going to share my screen very quickly here, hopefully. Yeah. Okay. So just an example of lead magnets, right? So these are some of the lead magnets on our website. And we use these in other ways for marketing, but certainly with the click of a download, it comes to a form to get an email address. Okay, we'll stop that. And then one that I love, Olivia, that we did March or April this year with Callie.
Yeah.
Similar conversation, right? Is joint webinar. So summer's a little bit slower for that. We're not running one in August, but in September, Joe Lucas and I will be running a joint webinar. I'll promote that. Joe will promote that. He's got a great email database also. He'll get 100 new email addresses out of our database. I'll get 100 new out of his. And the thing that I love about that is there's a trust transfer that happens there.
Correct.
People that know Joe that don't know me, I'll kind of ride his coattails and vice versa. So we try to do that every month. Summer's a little bit light, and then also December's a little tough. But so 9 or 10 months a year, we try to do a joint webinar that works really well, right? So
yeah, and on the topic of webinars, like for financial advisors specifically, like maybe working with a local CPA in the area to talk about a subject, that crosses both of your specialties. I know a client of mine did a cybersecurity webinar where they had the TD Ameritrade guy come, talk to their clients and prospect list. And you can sort of build evergreen webinars as well. They don't always have to be live. If you could invest in, 1, 2, 3 evergreen webinars that speak to your specialties, and then put them on a platform that, runs 365 at different times of the year. You might decide to put a little money behind it, promote it to get more eyeballs, but it can be a great way to keep, fresh blood in the email list. Always want to be pushing new water through that email list. Don't want it to get stagnant. No flies in your email list. Mosquitoes, if you live here in Florida like me.
Yeah, I like that. So we just got a visitation.
Oh, hi, Kitty.
Yeah. So I try to shoo him away, but he goes through a couple periods of the day where he's all over me. So that might be happening right now. That's fine. We work around every day. Adds a little personality maybe too. To wrap up the conversation about webinars, if you're going to do a joint webinar, just make sure it's with somebody who's also going to market it for you. Right. So that's the beauty of us working together, is we both have great, a great reach. So I think, Olivia, we had over 200 people registered for that webinar earlier this year.
Yeah, and of the couple events that I've done, I did one with you and one with Diana Cabrices on behalf of Wealth Tender, and we've had a couple people come for full engagement services, as well as just a la carte services and advice. And so you'd be surprised, what can come from just hosting one event.
Yeah.
And another great thing too is I always take my webinars and I have a VA or someone relatively inexpensive go and clip up the best things that I said in it, and then I post it on YouTube, and then I share it on social media. So it gives me kind of a little mind that I can get nuggets out of and use in different ways. So I'm not actually just sitting down and recording a video by myself, figuring out what I'm going to say, all of this stuff. So there are so many benefits to doing those.
Yeah, great for content. Here's the other thing webinar. I know this is an email conversation, but we're off on.
I know.
The other thing webinars do, when you've got a database of 18,000 people that we send email to, and the many people on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, it identifies for you who is paying attention.
Yes.
I don't pretend all those people know who I am or care, or their email might hit, my email might hit a spam folder for them. But, if we've got 100 or 150 registrations, that's a pretty good indicator of who's paying attention to the message. So,
right. And so I know one of the reasons that Charlie and I are both so bullish on email marketing is that the ROI in email is just, it blows everything else out of the water. Very rarely, unless you are super active in having personal conversations with people on LinkedIn or social media, will you convert directly from there. It happens, and that's great, but it also is dependent on your time, how much time you're spending there, how much effort you're putting in there. When you get someone into your ecosystem and you have a very consistent email marketing cadence, and I have a sample cadence I'm going to share in just a little while, that's really where a lot of your conversion is going to happen. And I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but I'll post it all the time. How'd you hear about us? Email all day long. I will die on that hill. If you're not doing email and building up a list, you are not going to generate new business online. So that's just the long and short of it. And one of the things Charlie put in our notes is, why is the ROI so high, Charlie, in email?
I think, you got to be pretty careful with the brand you build on social media. Not that the brand and email you don't have to be careful about, but I think you can be a little more, how do I say this without, solicitory? I don't want it to sound negative, but you can design email for conversion. Whereas if you're trying to design social media posts for conversion, you're going to alienate an audience pretty quickly. So social media is about rapport, about relationship, about staying in touch, about keeping your brand present. You can use email for conversion. So, before we wrap up, I'm going to show a strategy, Olivia, that we run maybe once quarterly. I don't go back to the well on it too often, but it's a 2-step email that last time we ran it, put like 12 or 14 appointments on my calendar. I mean,
Wow, that's
it
a
was,
really
yeah.
good return.
Again, we're dealing with big numbers, right?
Yeah.
We've got 2 clients out of it. We'll probably get 2 more out of it, but it took me 20 minutes to set it up, and I got, I think 12 appointments out of it.
Yeah.
So I'll show that before we wrap up, but you can be a little more strategic with your conversion with email than you can social content.
Yeah, and you can really be more strategic with segmenting. If you've ever read anything in the news, pretty like popular knowledge that these days consumers expect personalization in their marketing. They don't want to get information about making a business succession plan if they are not a business owner, or what to do, qualified, what to do with appreciated assets in retirement when they're just starting out in their career. So there are many ways that you can segment your email list. And I've just put together a few slides to show you examples, because I think that it is lost on a lot of people. Now, I will say that if you're just starting out and you don't have any lead magnets in place or events going on, you at least at the bare minimum need to separate out your clients from your COIs, from your prospects. You don't want clients getting solicitory emails. You don't want prospects getting, client only information. That is at a bare minimum. I mean, you must be very wary of that. I am just going to share my entire screen, and then I'll find what I need to show you, because I am not super proficient with this. So, okay.
As you pull that up, Olivia, I'm going to comment on what you just said. For most of our clients, we actually tell them to separate prospect from client database. Redtail, Wealthbox, those are great client platforms for you. And there's others out there, but they're not great necessarily marketing platforms.
Right.
So your prospect database kind of tends to become a little bit muddy, because you're pulling people in from all kinds of different areas. So you don't want to mess up your client database by doing that with your marketing. So I don't know. I'm a advocate of actually separating those 2 databases completely.
Yes, 100%. And that's I feel like a CRM thing, but at the very least in your email marketing platform, you need to separate people out. And if you have multiple niches, you need to separate those out too. Right. But there's multiple ways that you can segment based on download, what they downloaded, if they've purchased something from you before, or if they've attended an event. So these are screenshots from mine and my clients' tags inside of their email marketing. These people obviously are interested in retirement, and they should get content focused on that. This is obviously for women. You would not, this would be women focused content. Purchase. I can look at the people who have purchased from me before, and if I decide to make another program or offer or digital product, then those people are probably going to be the most primed to buy that product. In events, so I can look at the people who came to certain events. And maybe, of course, with the follow-up emails, that's going to be important. You want to have personalized follow-up emails for people who attended and who didn't. Another way is based on an action taken within an email. So in most email marketing platforms, you are able to click on a link and add a trigger that will segment people who clicked on a certain link into a list. So you'll notice over here that this is an actual email that I sent about some of my favorite resources, an OCIO, a software automation specialist, and a business consultant. And so what I did was that I created a trigger so that anybody who clicked on one of their links would be put into a list. And then I was able to provide these people with the list of people that clicked through their services, so they could follow up and say, hey, I noticed that you were interested. Is there any way, do you want to connect? And of course, you don't have to do this for other people's links. You can do it for your own. If someone clicks on the event link, but you see that they're not registered, maybe you reach out personally and say, I noticed that you didn't register. Is there a reason why? I'd be happy to talk through any of this if it's an issue, etc. Another way is to segment based on engagement. So in most email marketing platforms, you can rank the people in your list by how much they're engaged. In ConvertKit specifically, it goes like top 25%, top 50, top 75. And then you would send an email to that group saying, hey, thanks so much for interacting with our content. I hope you're enjoying it and learning from what we're sharing. I wonder, is there anything I can help you with now? This is very direct response style. In our experience, you can expect anywhere between a 5 and 10% response rate on these types of emails. Okay, so then you also want to segment out people who, or tag people who come from the contact us page, or blog and newsletter subscribers. One thing I will caution about when you're building different tags, if they're connected to automations, is that you have some sort of automation or trigger set up so that, as I mentioned before, clients don't continue receiving sales emails, booked calls don't keep getting book a call emails, and new opt-ins. I don't know what that was supposed to say. That was obviously my mistake. But so how do you avoid this? Be mindful when you're deciding who you're going to send your emails to. And when you're working on your automations, make sure that you have the proper conditions set up and the proper ending. So I've seen a lot of people who would build an automation for one tag, but then they add them to the general prospect list, and then they start getting a whole nother welcome sequence, which really seems redundant and messy and just not organized. So, if you don't know how to do it, just consult with a specialist. But this, having these things in place really shows your professionalism and your level of dedication to creating a positive experience with your brand. So I highly recommend making sure that it is all cleaned up. I mentioned that I was going to sort of talk about like a common cadence that we go through with our clients, but I will let Charlie go ahead and segue us to that area.
I think you already did. So we work with a lot of advisors that are on like automated canned content platforms as well, right? That maybe it's an FMG or a Snappy or a Broadridge or whatever the case is. Typically, those emails are being sent once a month. I recommend advisors start just in a general marketing email twice a month, and then keep an eye on unsubscribes. If you see a spike in unsubscribes, pull back a little bit. If you don't, we got most of our clients are sending emails once a week at this point.
Yes, I 100% believe that a prospect should get a touch once a week. Now, if you're just starting out in your email marketing journey, you have put on your big girl or big boy panties and you said, I'm just going to do it. And you have an existing list that you haven't been talking to, I highly recommend writing a re-engagement campaign. So this is a series of 3 or 4 emails that you'll send out to your list, telling them that you've been working hard at improving the client experience and you really want to stay in touch with everyone in your network. And so some changes are coming down the line, and the emails will be a huge part of that. If you are interested in staying on the list, look out for some great things to come. And if you're not, feel free to unsubscribe at any time. Do not be afraid of people who unsubscribe. They are not interested right now. They are not going to get on your calendar. So all they're doing is screwing up your metrics. So if you get them off and they're not interested, it is better for you in the long run. So do not be afraid of the unsubscribes unless it becomes an unruly number, and then you might just be annoying. So you have to ride the fine line.
Yeah, we use it as a measuring stick, right? So if you up the cadence of your emails, and certainly I've got my opinions on the canned content stuff. Now, being native to the industry, I get the same newsletter from maybe a dozen or 15 advisors on the exact same day every single month, right? So I don't think that your average prospect is getting that same experience just based on the role we play. But if you've got a niche, if you're trying to speak to a specific audience, that canned stuff typically doesn't do well for you. But if you're at every month, I would push it to every 2 weeks, but watch the unsubscribes. If you spike, maybe stay there. If you don't spike, and I don't think you will, you could probably push it to once every week, I would say. Olivia, you had a slide up there. What's being communicated every single week? And also, as you click that, I want to say I've got a storm rolling in, so I hope our Wi-Fi holds out. But just as a forewarning, it's gotten a little ugly here in the last 5 minutes.
Well, if not, I will hold down the fort, I promise.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have built like a sample monthly kind of calendar type deal based on, at the very least, clients, prospects, and COIs, right? So if you're, this is just very rudimentary. And this is sort of a starting point that we work with all of our full engagement clients on. Now, prospects, I fully believe, should receive one touch a week after they have gone through your email nurture sequence. So ideally, you will have a welcome email sequence, and once the user has moved through that series of emails, they'll be placed in the general dispatch list for prospects. So the way that we kind of run it is that 2 of the emails are long form storytelling style, one call to action, which is schedule the call. Now, they must be engaging. There's got to be some relatability there. The more you can weave like stories about your life or stories about what's going on in the world and then relate it back to your business, the better chance you have of someone reaching the end of that newsletter and saying, oh, hey, maybe this is for me. So, just make sure that you kind of follow best practices. A sales email is not, hey, 20% off our advisory services, blah, blah, blah. So, there is an art to it. But then they're also receiving 2, what I call like educational pieces. So the monthly newsletter, which, is sort of a roundup of what's going on around your firm, maybe some reminders about upcoming dates that are important. Maybe you share events that, save the date for events you're doing, links to evergreen webinars that you have available, anything like that. Newsletters are really cool because you can customize them to be whatever you want them to be. And clients love this crap. I'm not going to lie. The more personalized they are, the more you get in there and act like real people and, pull back the curtain a little bit on, the people in your firm and what they're doing. Clients just eat it up. Prospects like it too, because it gives them a sense of who you are and they can kind of feel that they like your vibe. And COIs, it keeps them updated, what you're doing and keeps you top of mind if they have someone who, might be benefit from attending your estate planning webinar or, is looking for an advisor who specializes in widows or whatever. So there's benefits to sending these to all 3 groups. And then I, have what we call the educational content email. So for some people, this is a roundup of their most recent YouTube videos. For some people, it's a roundup of their most recent blogs. And then, I do have some clients who, let's say they're doing a weekly YouTube video and it comes out every Saturday at 9:30. Sometimes we'll add a 4th email to the mix. And then, or, 5th email to the mix where we're sending an email when that new YouTube video is live. So this is just sort of a template, a guide of what we feel is a good cadence. Your newsletter and your educational content are not going to be solicitory in nature. However, it's not bad practice to put at the end, something like not yet a best advisory client. Click the link below to schedule your introductory call. So while it's not a sales email per se, you do still have some sort of option for people to get in contact with you. That's basically it.
You're a pro. All right. So you talked about call to action, soft call to action. The sales emails, talk about the nature of that in creating appointments out of, and again, I've got one little example to show. But converting email database into scheduled appointments.
Okay, so there's a couple things that I like to do in sales emails. I like to share client success stories, anonymized, of course. Try to pick ones that aren't like outlandish, that happen to like 1% of people. Pick ones that are more common, like that you see a larger percentage of your group dealing with the same problem. So basically it goes like, so-and-so came to us, they were having this problem, it made them feel this terrible way. Here's what we did to help them solve the problem now, and then list the positive outcomes of how you helped them save money or be less stressed or prepare their child for college or reduce their capital gains tax, whatever it is. So there's that very like storytelling element there. Another one that I like to do, was it, I forget what I was going to say. You go, maybe I'll remember.
All right, I will go. Let me share. I'm going to share my screen. So the strategy I'm about to show, and I might bounce around a little bit because there's a couple different things to show, is a 48-hour strategy. It is an email that goes out to our entire database with trackable links in it. All we're looking for, and I'll show you the email. I mean, these are real live stats from an email we sent in June. I'll show you the email. Let me dive into it instead of explaining it here, shall we?
Shall we? We need to see our eyeballs.
Yeah. Okay. I think here. Okay. StreamYard's a little bit weird on sharing, but so this is an email that was sent out on a Tuesday. There are 3 links in this email. This image is a link. This is pre-mustache days. And this link goes to the exact same place, and this button also goes to the exact same place. Now, there's also some native links in there, like view in this browser and unsubscribe and things like that. But aside from that, really, those are the 3 links in the email. Now, I'm going to show you the stats. And this actually, Olivia, this email did not do well. So are you seeing the stats on the screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay, cool. So you can see it didn't do well at a 19% open rate. And we're used to like a 27, 28% open rate. So from that, in that respect, it didn't do that well. But really, this is the number I was most interested in, right? So we've got 206 clicks to one of those links. 48 hours later, let me close this down. 48 hours later, I sent this email only to those 206 people. And so you'll see that this email, all the design element is out of it. The only native or the only link that I added was my calendar. Of course,
very important. Very important.
My calendar, so nothing else in there, but it looks a lot more personal. This was only sent to the 206 people. Now I want to show you the stats on this. So 85% open rate on that second email, 75% click rate. That email, that 48-hour email sequence of 2 emails got 150 people to my calendar.
Yes.
And that we're dealing in some quantity there, but I can track at least 12 appointments and I can track at least 2 clients from that 15 or 20 minutes worth of work and putting that email together.
Yes. And you can even set it up, as an automation so that, let's say you want to do this with all of your emails that go out like that, right? So then you would build an automation and that 2 days later, all the people that click through on the first one are going to get that second set. And so really, you can set it up and have someone even like internally, you don't even have to do it yourself, like set that up for you and just know that that's like, okay, for every time that we send out this event invite or every time we send out like a copy of a lead magnet or whatever, we're going to do that personalized follow-up automation to, what do they say? The fortune is in the follow-up. And I will tell you, it is correct.
Yep, it is.
People get distracted. People just get into life. They don't want to make a decision. And so you reaching out and showing that you are interested in their interest can catalyze them to actually move.
Agreed. Yeah. So we run that strategy maybe once a quarter. I don't want to go back to the well on it too often. I feel like, that second email is not personal. I went out to 206 people. There's nothing in there that says, I'm sending this to you personally, right? I'm not trying to be disingenuous, but by stripping everything out of it, it has that appearance. And by only putting the one link in there, we're driving people to one specific place with a very direct action. So borrow that, steal it, take it. It is a great strategy. Now, what's important there, we got those kind of numbers because that initial email went out to maybe 16,000 people, right? If you're sending it to 1,000, that's great. You're going to get, that percentage of those types of numbers. But if you've been nurturing this email list for a long time, that's a really easy way to convert that list into appointments.
Yes, 100%. And I feel like if there's any strategy that you're going to give an extra 10% towards, in the most bang for your buck is going to become from putting that extra 10% towards your email marketing efforts. You're never really going to fall short there. And on that note, I sort of had made two kind of best practice notes that I wanted to share based on some client experiences that I encountered recently. Started working with a client who had about 5 lead magnets put together, but there were only 2 that actually had any sort of follow-up sequence with them. And so, to invest in 3 more follow-up sequences targeted for that specific lead magnet was going to be a hefty investment. They had just hired someone in-house to take over some of their clerical work. So, budget was of concern. And what I told them, and I think is a good starting point for anybody who's just trying to put some infrastructure in place, is that if you do have an opt-in opportunity, whether it's joining the email list, signing up for a webinar, booking your calendar call, or downloading a lead magnet, if you do not have a welcome email, shame on you. I'm not even saying a sequence. I'm just saying a welcome email. This is expected in today's marketplace. When you download something, join something, we want the welcome email. We want to know what else is available. We want to know what kind of information you're going to share with us, right? So it should be triggered to be sent automatically. So as a good place to start, I told this client, at the very least, let's get a welcome email specific to this lead magnet put in place for each of your lead magnets. And as you go, we can chip away at adding a sequence for each one of them. And another tip that I like to give, just depending on how different your niches are, you can ostensibly write one welcome email sequence. The first email is always going to be, thanks for downloading this. Thanks for joining our blog list. Thanks for signing up to attend the webinar. But usually emails 2 through 6 or 2 through 7 are going to be sort of evergreen, maybe about your firm, maybe about your team, maybe about the ways that you help people. Now, like I said, if you have multiple different niches and different silos, this might not work. But if you have a pretty streamlined service offering, you can reuse those emails 2 through 6 in the other sequences. All you have to do is change your initial email to be appropriate to the way that people found you, right? So that can also save on money and time and effort. And then, I cannot stress this enough. I kind of touched on it earlier, but make sure that if you are running any type of automations, or even if you're just using email marketing and you're manually importing your lists every week or 2, that you are staying on top of keeping those lists in the right place, right? You don't want a new client to keep getting the solicitation emails. You don't want someone who went halfway through your sequence and booked the call to keep getting the "why haven't you booked a call yet" emails, right? This looks sloppy and not organized, and they're going to start to wonder if that's the way you manage their money too. So, work with an automation specialist or marketing specialist. Personally, I always recommend Courtney McKay of AM Software Automations. Whenever we onboard new clients, that's part of my new client onboarding packages, making sure that their automations are set up between their CRM, between their online scheduling tool, and between their email marketing platform, so that none of this happens. But you can also reach out to her on your own, and get help with that. But these are, just little things that you wouldn't think about unless you're in it every day, that I think can be helpful in putting the best foot forward when it comes to your digital marketing with email.
Yeah. Now, I wrote down Courtney's name, so I need an intro.
Okay.
And if you're looking for help in building your email list, we would love to offer the 2 of us. I think what's interesting, Olivia, is we compete in some areas, but I think that I've got so much respect for the work that you do. I appreciate the collaboration we've had over the years. You're a pro's pro. People are going to come to me because maybe they like me. They're going to come to you because maybe they like you. But we kind of dance, I don't know. We kind of do a lot of the same work.
Yeah.
So now you had a PSA right before we went live.
Yes, I have a PSA.
Now, it's not email necessarily, but it is domain name.
It's not about email. I currently have 3 clients who are, we are about to start running SEO efforts on their website. Of course, what we need to check for is that their site is optimized for speed and performance, because this is one of the 5 check marks that Google looks for when deciding whether your site is, whether they want to show it to people or not, right? If you have a slow loading site, it's not going to be one they want to show to people. So they're not going to prioritize it in the feed, no matter how much on page or off page SEO you do. So we always want to check for speed, site, performance, whatever. So in dealing with 3 of these clients recently, 2 have done a migration, and 1 is looking to add some pages to the website about a new service offering. But they do not own their domain. They have been resold it through a third-party company. They have no idea where their email hosting is. They have no idea where their website hosting is. And these companies, like a certain advisor website companies, what they do is they sell you all of that stuff through their own licenses. So they make a commission off of it every time that it renews, for however many seats that they've sold, and they want to charge you every time that you need to make a minor update. So what they do basically is put handcuffs on you, and you're stuck without access or control over your own business entities in regards to domain hosting and email hosting. Now, if you're an LPL advisor or somebody in a situation like that, there are, limitations to, what you can do. And there are certain DNS and MX settings that have to be all tangled up in LPL and all that. And that's one thing. And there's workarounds to that. But especially as an independent RIA, you should own your website domain. You should have access to your email hosting. You should own the Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace licenses. You should own these things. They should not be under another entity, not me, not anybody else, you. So just keep that in mind. I feel like I'm going to run a whole campaign on this because my clients are having such a hard time. And what it is that they prey on your not knowing what's going on. And you get frustrated because you have 100 other things to do in your business, and you just say, screw it, I'll pay them to do it. And then you get stuck. They get their claws in you, and you're their personal piggy bank. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't sit right with me. So just a fair warning. You might want to look at your things and bring them under your own house.
Or reach out to Olivia or me. We can help you with that stuff. So,
one more thing. I also have a free welcome email template that you can use for any of your lead magnets or opt-ins. If you go to lexiconadvisormarketing.agency, you'll go to a specific landing page. It's not gated. You don't even have to put in your information. It's free. You can just download it and use it, And it's funny because I have a client. It's a mutual client of ours, actually, Charlie, who has a lead magnet, and her welcome email is straight from my template before we even work together. So you never know, guys.
And so, Olivia, I noticed we're streaming to my LinkedIn, but it's not streaming to yours right now. So we'll share this on your LinkedIn after. You drop that link right in the comments on the post after, not here, but after we wrap up. And then I've got an email marketing guide. We'll do the same for them. So
sounds good to me.
Rockin'. Olivia Looper, you're the best. Thank you so much for taking some time today.
Why, thank you, Charlie, for inviting me to be your guest.
My pleasure. We'll do it again often.
Yes.
And everybody who took a little time to listen to me and Olivia chat at each other, thanks. We'll go to LinkedIn now and hopefully find out we had like 20 comments we got to get back to.
Okay, awesome.
All right. See you, Olivia.
Bye.